All right, this is Tony Lake with Lagos Entertainment down here in Puerto Peñasco, Sonora, in Mexico. We're sitting here at Latitude 31. It's a restaurant and bar here in Puerto Peñasco. We're sitting here because very heavily involved in some changes coming to the restaurant and bar. And there'll be some announcements coming with this location and some new things happening, and I'm very heavily involved in it.
Yes, depending on when this video is released, those changes might have already happened. Exciting things coming here, exciting things happening in Tony's life. But we're going to go back to maybe before life was exciting, before he lived in Mexico, and hear kind of where the story starts. We're going to just chat with also running a business in Mexico is definitely a thing.
Started up, we were living in Farmington, New Mexico, and my in-laws had retired and built a business here many, many years ago, probably 35-ish years ago. And so during that time, we were coming down and visiting 4 or 5 times a year, 6 times a year. And then we lost my father-in-law. And so we sold the business to make sure my mother-in-law had the money she had worked for her whole life. And now she's down here and she's super active and spry, but it was just time to be closer to the family. And we always knew we were going to retire here. So we just decided to be closer to the family and come down to Mexico a little bit early. So I had the privilege of coming down and begin life in Mexico at 43 years old. It's now been 3 years. I'm 46 now.
So let's talk about that move to Puerto Peñasco. This is a town, you might have heard me say this before, but I had not heard of it before I really came here, before I started planning this trip here. It really wasn't on the map for me, but it is only an hour from the border with Arizona. So let's hear what life looked like when they first got here.
3 years ago, I actually moved here on Halloween Day. I drove down here Halloween Day. My husband had come down 3 or 4 days before, after we had packed everything. I had to finish work. So I waited a couple days. We came down, we moved right into an RV park right away. We had a permanent spot in an RV park here in town, Playa de Oro, and we were in the process of building a permanent structure around it to make the RV life bigger. But as time went on, we have 3 dogs. You know, I have a Doberman and 2 Chihuahuas. That just wasn't going to be enough space. So we had to start thinking about what else we could do. And so we started, after about 8-9 months, we decided it was time to start looking for a home. And so we started renting homes. We've now rented 2. We lived in the first home, which was beautiful, and we loved it. We were only paying about $950, but now we've moved into another home, and it's pretty great. I mean, it's 2 gigantic bedrooms, gated in parking, gated front yard, 3 bathrooms, and we pay $750 a month now here in town, and it's been 3 years. We live across town. We live in a locals neighborhood that has a lot of Mexican locals, and it does have a lot of American locals as well. So it's a big mixture of everybody. The neighborhood's absolutely wonderful, and after 3 years, I think we finally found the place that we enjoy, and it's a great place. We love it.
So we're not going to show Tony's house because I suggested that we meet here in the bar because of those upcoming announcements. But you did get to hear about what the rents are in this area for nice houses in Mexican neighborhoods. But Puerto Peñasco is a bar town. It is definitely a weekend town, a fun town. So let's hear about Tony's experience with the partying that happens here.
So when we first started coming down to Penasco, of course, my in-laws lived here. So we would come down 4 or 5 times a year and be for 3 days and just came down for a party and see the family. And so we chose to move here, of course, and we got stuck in that, how do I say it? Like, you know, we still thought it was a weekend. So for the first few months, we were partying like it was a weekend. And then after about 7 months, we were like, okay, let's kind of, you know, take a step back. We have to live. Partying is all well and fun, but you still got to have life, and you got to learn how to balance that. And I think that's true anywhere you live. So we decided to take a step back and started looking for jobs, and I found a job right away bartending at a bar called Scully's Cantina, and that's where I started working here in town. But yeah, I mean, the town itself is absolutely wonderful. It has the most wonderful people. There's so many different places to go and things to do and entertainment to see. And so when I started working in bars, just decided I wanted to add to that.
So let's hear how Tony added to that entertainment here in Puerto Peñasco / Rocky Point.
My first job here was kind of a mixture of 2. I was bartending at a bar called Scully's Cantina, and some friends of mine who were the owners of Pink Cadillac restaurant and sports bar, they were looking to start karaoke. So I was like, well, I can do that. I can easily host karaoke. It was something I was very familiar doing with up in the States. I opened and ran bars in the States for 25 years and helped owners learn. I write policy and procedure. I teach bartenders liquor history and mixology. And so working in the bar was very, very easy for me just to jump right into. Of course, I had to learn the Mexico laws and the Mexico ways, because they are different than the United States ways, the United States laws, of course. But when I started doing karaoke, it just kind of started from there. I moved around and bartended while doing karaoke, and then it started turning into, hey, can you also do trivia? Can you also host this event? And pretty soon I was trying to jumble bartending at bars and keep my schedule free to host events in the evenings or weekends. Well, when you're a bartender, that's where your money's at, is evenings and weekends. And so I had to sit down with the bar I was working at the time and just kind of tell them, it's unfair to them that I'm out trying to work everywhere else and I can't give them the time that they need. So that's when I kind of decided to open up my own entertainment business. So that's how Lagos Entertainment came to be. And I began hosting pub trivia and karaoke and music bingo and Name That Tune style games. And then that went on from there. I started officiating weddings, DJing wedding receptions, hosting charity events. I host just about anything you can here in town. I just try to add to the excitement of the town, because the town's always exciting and always something going on. And I wanted to be a part of that and kind of just add my flair to it.
Tony has a very good feel about him, and he's definitely adding to what there is here in Puerto Peñasco. And as I mentioned, we're just an hour from the border, so I'm going to ask Tony a little bit about his spiel on Puerto Peñasco, because as I mentioned, it's not a town that I had really heard of, didn't know much about until I got here 2 days ago, and I leave tomorrow morning for Tijuana to return my rental car and fly back to the States. So let's hear a little bit more about this town.
Well, I first started coming to Puerto Peñasco with my husband, as his family had been here and owned a rental business of condos and casitas, is how we started. And right away I fell in love with the town. It always has a little buzz going on. There's always great food to be had, and there were always bands and events and things happening. And so that's how we learned about the city. I had never been to the city, and it was not someplace I had actually heard of before. Like Brighton said, I heard of things like Puerto Vallarta and Acapulco and Cancun and all those giant resort towns. And so when I first came here, it was just so much fun and so much to take in. And right away, I met people who I just automatically just fell in love with. There's so many wonderful people who live here, both Mexican and American alike, and they always just want to meet new people and bring new people and make sure that you're having a good time. And so literally just started exploring the town, even food-wise. I'll just take drives through and be like, oh, I've never been to this little place. Let's go to this place. Let's try out this new place, because we're always trying to all support each other. The town really does try hard to make sure you're supporting this place and the local kids, and there's charities in this town, and they all work together really, really wonderfully. And so just kind of fell in love with the city.
I have definitely been experiencing that with the people that I'm talking to in this town, is the support, nonprofits, and it really is it feels like a small town. So by the time you see this, Tony will be a bar and restaurant owner, and that's something I wouldn't want to do in the States, in Mexico, anywhere. That just seems like a hard life. But let's hear a little bit about how he can make that work in Mexico, because some of you, as I am not retired, Tony's not retired, you may not be retired, and I just love bringing you the different stories of how people are making it work. So let's hear a little bit about how that works.
So as I mentioned before, in the United States, in New Mexico and Colorado, I opened and ran bars for 20-some years, teaching policy and procedure, and like I said, teaching bartenders and training servers and writing manuals for restaurants. And so when I started working here, just started when I was bartending at bars, learning the laws, learning how it works differently, and just trying to see what I could do to add to that. And then this opportunity came along, and so my husband and I, we sat and talked about it, and the owners of this place we just started negotiating, and we came with a great deal, and we're really, really excited about it. And so we're really close to signing all the contracts, because everything has to be legal. We're down here in another country, and as an immigrant, we want to make sure that we're doing everything correctly. And so once the contracts are signed, we've already been working with lawyers and accountants and all of the city officials to make sure we're paying all the right people and making sure we're doing everything right. There's a lot to learn. I mean, you'd think since I had experience in the States it'd be the same. Well, it's not. We're in another country. And so I did have to learn some of those laws and how they do things differently. And it's really been a great, great learning experience. And I just love being able to add my experience from the States into what's in Mexico and maybe show something different and new. And hopefully maybe even something more efficient if it's not efficient in certain places. And if it's better than that, I can take that into myself as well.
Yeah, for my business in Mexico, it's different. You have to file your taxes every month. I don't have any employees in Mexico. All the people who work with me are actually contractors through Upwork, so that I don't have to work with the Mexican labor laws because it's complicated, but I can still support the Mexican economy by having these people who are in Mexico. But let's dig into a question that you guys always like me asking, which is Spanish. So does Tony speak Spanish? How did he learn, or how is he learning?
So I do have roots in Mexico and Spain. My family is a little mixture of both. I was born and raised in Wyoming, but my mother's family, she was born in New Mexico, and then we had roots in Mexico and Spain, like I said, excuse me. And so growing up, I heard Spanish my entire life. My grandparents spoke it, all my aunts and uncles spoke it. My mother married a man in Wyoming, and so we heard it mostly from extended family. My mother didn't speak it a lot in the house, considering my father didn't speak it at all. And that's just how it was back then. But I feel really comfortable down here. At first, I was really nervous, thinking I wouldn't understand a lot. But then all that I had heard growing up kind of kicked in. And sometimes the dialect and the words are a little different than what we know, because as you get farther north in the United States, people don't understand. Like, I was raised in Wyoming, and we actually have quite a large Hispanic community up there. But the Spanish words up there were a little different than what I'd heard down here. And so I had to start learning how the dialects and the, for lack of a better term, slang is spoken here. But I've become quite comfortable, and I can speak. When I was bartending, I worked with people who only spoke Spanish. So you figure it out. And immersion really was the key. But I'm very comfortable speaking Spanish. And what I can, I wouldn't say I'm fluent, but I can usually understand just about everything they say. I might have problems saying it back or answering correctly, but I can always get my point across. And it's been a great learning experience for me as well to improve my Spanish.
Yes, my Spanish lesson this week, for me and Margaret, who get together every week and learn some Spanish, we're learning some slang, and one of the things is aguas. So if someone yells aguas, it's kind of like look out, which actually means water. But it was interesting. I was over, and I think it was Ensenada, and there were some kids who were learning how to rollerblade, and one of them was yelling aguas, 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 and I was like, I know that. So there's a lot of slang in Mexican Spanish, and definitely it's a lot of fun to learn, and a lot of fun to learn the stories about it. So I like to wrap up my videos with a quick tip for someone who's thinking about moving to Mexico, someone maybe who's thinking about opening a business in Mexico. So let's get Tony's quick tip.
I think my quick tip for moving to any other country, but especially Mexico, where that's what I know now, is to make sure you experience the culture. When you come down here, don't just be with the same thing you've always seen. Go experience and meet people that aren't from your background, and you're going to learn so much more, and you're going to learn to embrace it more, and they're going to embrace you, and you're going to teach each other things and make great friends. And that's really the whole thing. Once you start making friends and accepting you live here, you're going to be accepted anywhere. So just do it and love it, and go out there with just an open mind and a big heart.
So if you're coming to Mexico, have an open mind and a big heart, and you will do really well. You're a type A personality, work on those factors before you get here.
Before I wrap up this video, I just want to say that it's now September 7th when I'm releasing this video. And as of September 1, Latitude 31 is now Salt and Lime. So congrats to Tony and his husband Kelly on their achievement. And I look forward, it sounds like with a name like Salt and Lime, it sounds like a place I would really enjoy. So next time I'm in Puerto Peñasco, I'll be definitely stepping by. Congratulations.
Now it's time for you to go and watch some other videos that I produced, other interviews here. If there are other videos from Puerto Peñasco / Rocky Point, got those up here. Also videos of other foreigners, immigrants, expats in Mexico, so that you can hear their stories and feel inspired and see how other people have made it happen so that you can make it happen too. From Puerto Peñasco, wish you were here. Hasta luego.